Hey, this is Warren Redlick. I want to give you an update on Lucid Motors. They had an investor call the other day. I've gone through it. I'm going to give you some highlights and or lowlights. I'm sparing you the long 50-minute, oh my God, I can't believe this guy is still talking. But I want to go through some bits and pieces. There are some really interesting bits of information, material changes in information that affect the future of Lucid Motors and affect shareholders of Lucid Motors. So let's go through it. Are you ready? Let's go.
We'll begin with Peter and Sherry providing several business updates, followed by a company overview. There will be no Q&A.
Okay, really quick. Peter Rawlinson, the CEO and CTO of Lucid Motors, will speak, and also Sherry House, the new CFO. They're going to go through a bunch of different pieces, and no Q&A. This is a tradition with Lucid Motors. They don't take questions from analysts or journalists or investors.
Lucid and Churchill Capital Corp. 4 are in the process of finalizing the announced merger, whereby Lucid expects to become a public company and receive approximately $4.4 billion in cash from the transaction after all of the expenses are paid. And of course, that assumes there are minimal redemptions from the Churchill shareholders.
$4.4 billion that they're going to receive in cash as a result of this SPAC merger. That's going to help Lucid moving forward fund the operations for the next, well, we'll see in a minute. Another key detail that we picked up there was apparently that assumes there will be minimal redemptions from the Churchill shareholders. That was sort of new. I haven't heard that before. Apparently there's some option for some Churchill shareholders to, quote, redeem their shares and maybe get cash out of this transaction. Really unclear what that means. I don't know what that's coming from. I don't know if that's insiders in Churchill Capital who'll be able to take money out of this transaction, or if it's existing CCIV shareholders who I don't think have any ability to redeem their shares for anything. So I'm not sure where that was coming from. If somebody knows, please put something in the comments below this video and explain what that's about, because I haven't seen that before and I don't know what it means.
The Churchill vote is scheduled for July the 22nd, 2021, just around the corner, really. And we're very much looking forward to that final step before the anticipated start of trading of Lucid stock on the NASDAQ exchange under the ticker LCID. Now, with that in mind, we would encourage you to please vote.
So now we get to the purpose of this investor call, is to get CCIV investors, the common stockholders who are out there in the market, to vote in favor of this transaction. At first, when I heard this, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. The Saudis control 2/3 of Lucid Motors. They control the vote. It's not this. I don't think this is about the Lucid Motors shareholders voting, because that's controlled by the Saudis and that's not an issue. But there's all these CCIV shareholders out there who, as far as I can tell, are all gangbusters in favor of this. But they need to communicate to them. They need to vote. They need to file their proxies, whatever it is. That's part of the process. It's interesting, though, in light of the current pending trial. Elon Musk has been on trial and Kimball Musk is testifying about Tesla's acquisition of Solar City. And one of the defenses that is used by Tesla in this litigation is, well, the shareholders voted for this and they voted overwhelmingly for it. So I wonder if the CCIV shareholders are in some sense immunizing the people behind CCIV and the people behind Lucid Motors by voting overwhelmingly for this transaction. Maybe. I mean, I think it doesn't make sense not to vote for it because you're trading high, and if the transaction doesn't go through, CCIV shares will probably go back to $10 a share. But anyway, I think that's what this is about. I think that's the reason for this investor call, to just get more people to vote. And maybe a high percentage vote insulates corporate management, CCIV, back insiders, the Saudis, from class action litigation later.
On the Lucid Air reservations front, we continue to make great progress, with reservations now surpassing 10,000 and growing daily.
That's a little bit interesting. Let's talk about that. They had said that they have more than 10,000 reservations. Well, they had 10,000 reservations in June 23rd. And we're now 3 weeks out and you haven't hit 11,000 reservations. And you go back to February of 2021, they had 7,500 reservations. So from February to mid-July, they've added about 2,500 reservations, which is just not a lot. I don't think that's even 20 reservations a day. And you compare it to like Cybertruck, which has over 1 million reservations. You've got 10,000 reservations for this thing that you're inflating like it's this monster spectacular thing. And 10,000 reservations, how many of those people are actually going to come through and buy the vehicle? How many of them are going to walk away? Very disappointing demand from my perspective if I was a Lucid shareholder that we only have 10,000 reservations for something that you've been pushing since your reveal in September. It's just not a lot.
On the personnel front, we've grown to a company of approximately 2,300 employees.
This is something that has bothered me about Lucid before. We have what I think is a new number. They're up to 2,300 employees. That was also disclosed in a slide deck the other day. 2,300 employees for a company that hasn't sold a car yet. I feel like Lucid Motors is not the typical startup. The typical startup starts in a garage. You get a few people working. You get a working product together. At some point, you deliver something. And you don't have 2,300 payrolls to deal with while you're trying to get your product to market. This is a very unusual strategy from my perspective. It doesn't seem like the way a startup goes. And it's very concerning. I've said before, I think the company is top heavy. In the past, they had a slide deck with 19 people in suits on the slide deck. Now there's up to 20 people on the slide deck. It's crazy, too much. Just build a car. Get a car out there. Show us you can actually do it. Impress us. Deliver something the customers want.
On the product side, the key update is that the testing and validation of Lucid Air is progressing well. And it's on track for the second half of 21 start of production for customer deliveries.
This is one of those moments where you said something by not saying something. And you're going to hear this, I think, a couple other times in the call. We're on track for production and deliveries, it sounds like, in the second half of 2021. But the 577 vehicles that they said they were going to deliver in the second half of 21, which is already a drop from the 6,000 they were supposed to deliver in 2020 before, it sounds like that 577 goal is gone. And they're just hoping to produce and deliver vehicles, 2 or 3, by the end of this year. Very, very unclear. No sense that they're actually on path to deliver a significant volume of vehicles by the end of this year. No sense of that at all.
We're in the late stages of our crash testing program and are currently in the midst of our EPA range testing.
So this is one of those vague moments. We're in the late stages of crash testing. We're doing the EPA testing. Well, where are you in that? When is this going to finish? When is it going to be ready? When are we going to see results? No timelines. No, it's going to be done by this point. Nothing. It sounds good. We're making progress. We're making progress. We're making progress. You've been making, and if the vehicle's not ready, what are you testing? Because it sounds like later in the call, you'll hear this. It sounds like they're not quite ready for production yet. So what vehicles are you crash testing? What vehicles are you putting in EPA testing? If you don't have a vehicle that's ready for production yet, you're testing something that's not ready for production? Very unclear. Maybe this means they are ready for production and need to get this done, but that's not obvious to me. And being the #1 Lucid skeptic on the internet, I'm going to say this is fluff.
Then on the factory side, we successfully completed our pre-production run in June as scheduled, with 89 Lucid Airs built as part of that process. We've accrued meaningful learnings and applying those in our quality validation production run, which is ongoing at our AMP1 manufacturing facility in Arizona. Our manufacturing facility is ready for the second half of 2021 start of production for customer deliveries, which will commence once the product quality is of the exceptional level that we feel our customers rightly deserve.
There's a lot to unpack in that bit, and I'm sorry I made it so long, but it was sort of like that all went together and that all had to be covered. So they did 89 pre-production vehicles, and that supposedly went well. And this time he said they're ready to start production for customer deliveries. Well, wait, does that mean you're starting production by the end of the year, but you're not doing deliveries by the end of the year? Unclear what that meant. And then at first I thought it sounded like they were ready to start production, but then he says something about they're waiting to get the quality right before they start production. So they're not really ready to start production. This was real fluff, waffling, unclear, vague language. Really not. What is going on here? Where is the information? Where's the what? Give us something real. I just, for me, this is like, okay, this is flat. I know there are CCIV shareholders and Lucid fans who are really excited for this, and I want to be excited for you, and I want them to prove me wrong. I want to see another competitive EV maker on the market. But everything that Peter Rawlinson does, everything that Lucid Motors does, screams to me fraud, fraud, fraud. That's what I hear. That's what I see. Until you show me, you show me. Right now, it sounds like 0 deliveries in 2021. That's what I heard in that bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're starting production by the end of the year. Maybe they'll deliver a few vehicles, but maybe 0 deliveries in 2021. That would be big. That would be a big slam on Lucid Motors and CCIV if they fail to deliver. And he pretty much failed to commit to delivering vehicles this year.
And we're also progressing our energy storage business. And I had promised that the next baby step to develop this would be to put a solar farm on the roof of our headquarters, albeit a modest one, and hook that up with our energy storage alpha prototype in the building. I'm delighted to say that this activity is on track, testing ongoing. We're planning a beta prototype to install at our vehicle manufacturing facility in Casa Grande. But again, our energy storage system business roadmap is on track.
I found this part bizarre because although there's some references in some places to Lucid Motors pursuing an energy storage business, when he says their energy storage business is on track, if you look at their financials that they've projected out to like 2030, I don't see any energy storage sales. This is not a significant part of the business from anything I've seen. What are you doing? Why are you talking about energy storage when there's, read your own financials? Where's the energy storage in the financials? Am I missing it? I don't see it. Everything is about vehicle production and revenue from vehicles. So if you're on, are you saying you're on track to deliver 0 energy storage systems by 2030? This makes no sense. This just makes absolutely no sense. I don't know why they went into this, why they devoted any time at all. He mentioned, I don't know if I included it later, but he mentioned energy storage 2 or 3 times in this long, boring investor call. Total waste of time, total nonsense. I don't know what they're talking about.
We plan to accelerate approximately $350 million of planned CapEx investment from future periods into 2021 to 2023, and to otherwise enhance manufacturing capabilities by expanding overall CapEx investments by 6 to 7% during 2021 through 2026. These investments will be funded in part by the capital raised upon the closing of the business combination with CCIV, inclusive of the PIPE. And these investments will enable us to accelerate additional manufacturing capacity for Lucid Air. We plan to combine the next 2 phases of the Arizona facility expansion into one expedited phase and provide 2.7 million square feet of additional manufacturing space by 2023, enabling increased Lucid Air capacity to up to approximately 53,000 vehicles per year.
Okay, that was Sherry House, and this is somewhat sensible. They're using the $4.4 billion and I guess some other fantasy money, but they're using the $4.4 billion to accelerate CapEx, to increase spending on capital expenditure, to improve factories, to move things forward so that they're readier for production faster. And that 53,000 vehicles roughly corresponds to their financials saying their sales volume in 2023 will be 49,000 vehicles. Seems questionable that if you're going to achieve 53,000 vehicle capacity by the end of 2023, that you would have successfully produced 49,000 vehicles in 2023. Seems like a stretch. Usually your capacity is down sometimes. If you look at Tesla's claimed production capacity, they rarely, if ever, reach their production capacity. They usually shortfall that because there's time when the lines are down. Other things come up that delay production. So you never really reach your full production capacity. So 49,000 seems like a stretch at this point for 2023. But anyway, that gives you some sense of what they're doing. They're using the capital to pull forward some investment, make the investment in a different way, to outfit the facility, to produce more vehicles faster, sort of. I do think those numbers are also suspect because if you go back to the February slide deck for the CCIV proposed merger, they talked about phase 2 was currently being implemented that would get them up to 90,000 vehicles a year. and that phase one was already ready for 34,000 vehicles a year. So all of a sudden, you need all this additional investment to get you to 53,000 vehicles a year capacity by the end of 2023, when you were supposedly 5 months ago already implementing getting to 90,000 units. Those numbers don't add up.
We also recently announced that we expect to launch Lucid Gravity at the end of our projected second half of 2023 timeline and intend to have increased production of Lucid Air in 2023 and 2024. We expect total vehicle volumes to be unchanged for 2023 and 2024.
That's another one of those you said something by not saying something. We expect vehicle volumes for 2023 and 2024 to remain unchanged. Therefore, by not saying what happens with 21 and 22, we can safely assume that Lucid Motors is reducing their expected production and deliveries of vehicles in 2021 and 2022. So Lucid Motors is not going to deliver 577 vehicles in 2021. I'm not sure they're going to deliver any vehicles in 2021, and I've been saying that since before they dropped from 6,000 to 577. This is really big. The absence of a comment on 2021 and 2022 speaks huge volumes, and we can all see where that's going. And that affects the financials going forward. If you're not going to deliver vehicles in 2021 and 2022, or you're going to deliver less vehicles, you're going to have less revenue, you're going to have more negative cash flow going forward, and that means what's coming is going to make a lot more sense.
We continue to expect our existing cash resources following the business combination will fund our planned operations at least through 2022.
That's another big one. I think that's a material change. My recollection, I can't find the video off the top of my head. I can't find it in the slide deck, but back in February when they announced the SPAC merger, the $4.4 billion was supposed to carry them well into 2023.
You say in the investor deck that you're going to spend about $10 billion over the course of the next 4 years. How are you going to get those additional funds?
Well, we've already brought in $4.5 billion from the Churchill capital from the SPAC. That gives us a absolute clear runway well into 2023.
And they've changed the language, and now the SPAC merger, the $4.4 billion, will carry them to the end of 2022. So they're going to need to raise money. They're going to need to bring in additional capital somehow now by the end of 2022 instead of the middle of 2023. That is a sign that they're expecting greater negative cash flow. The deep chasm of negative cash flow just got deeper and just got longer. That's what's coming. That is a material change. That is a change in the sales pitch that we heard in February.
Turning to the team for a moment, we have a management team comprised of experts that have been here and done this before.
I'm sorry, that clip just annoys me. Team of experts, blah, blah, blah. You're top heavy, you're top heavy, you're top heavy. I already covered it. It just annoys me that you keep telling us that you're top heavy.
We really intend to be the world's premier EV luxury brand. And of course, that starts with our position. If you look at the luxury market, you see a big shift happening. It's a shift in values, and it's really been driven by savvy consumers. Traditional luxury was represented by status, opulence, and a real sense of physical materialism. And that was the expression of success. That was the aspiration. We see Lucid shifting more to what we call post-luxury, which is a bigger push towards refinement, future-facing, technology-oriented products. And above all else, it has a sustainable technology element and a sustainable message. That is the new expression of aspiration. I mean, conversely, we see the traditional luxury brands, which we tend to focus on the big three German automakers, still very much in the established traditional luxury position with their traditional brand values. We do not see their announced EV products as being executed in a post-luxury position. The opportunity for Lucid to really focus on being the world's premier all-EV luxury brand.
So I just included that clip just so you could see how painful it was for me to listen to the 50 minutes this guy blathering on with corporate mumbo jumbo, corporate buzzwords, post-luxury, luxury, technology, sustainable, blah, 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 blah. Tell me something meaningful. Oh my God, this was awful. This was just so awful. I'm sorry. I hope I protected you from the need to actually listen to all 50 minutes of this mumbo jumbo nonsense fluff.
More luxury, more comfort to a degree that we can offer the aircraft-inspired seat package, which we'll introduce to the market in the future. We plan to bring that in the next few years. And this will be fantastic for the China market in particular, we believe.
Lucid has been pushing this aircraft-inspired rear seat since as far back as 2017 and maybe longer. How long? And now they're saying it's a few years away? It's already over 4 years since you told us you were going to have these spectacular seats in the rear of the car. And I just asked this of people who actually believe in Lucid Motors. How long can they lie to you? How long can they make these promises to you before you say, wait a minute, you told me that 4 years ago and now you tell me it's not coming for another 3 years? Come on. This is ridiculous. This is May of 2017. It was in this article in Inside EVs. And it's still not ready, and it's still not close to being ready, and maybe you'll have it ready for the China market in a few years? Come on.
And let's not forget about the all-important aerodynamic nature of Lucid Air. We've achieved a coefficient of drag of 0.21. And it's interesting, actually, to note, Mercedes has taken the challenge, and they've got a 0.20 recently with the EQS. But I have to say the best measure of any car's aerodynamic performance is the product of the drag coefficient and the frontal area, because that product is directly proportional to the horizontal force experienced by the car on the road. And the Mercedes EQS actually has a larger frontal area than the Lucid Air. And because of the space concept, we've got a much smaller car and less drag, which is really important to get the most range.
I just want to give Rawlinson a little bit of credit. I thought that was a good explanation of why the Lucid Air might be at least a little bit more efficient than the EQS. The frontal surface area is something that I'm aware of as an important issue. The coefficient of drag, yes, they're very close, but if we have less frontal surface area, we've got to push a smaller rectangle effectively through the air, and that allows us to be more efficient. He didn't compare it to Tesla Model S, which also has a lower coefficient of drag than Lucid Air and might have a smaller frontal surface area. I don't actually know. Interesting that he chose the EQS for that comparison, didn't choose the Model S for that comparison. My guess is Model S probably wins that, and that's why he didn't bring it up. But I did think, give credit to Peter Rawlinson, that was actually a good explanation, something I haven't heard from you before. So I'm going to give you credit where credit is due.
Tesla is far ahead from all other current competition, with approximately 4 miles per kilowatt hour. This is why Tesla commands the market cap that it does. Where are you? Where are you as an EV company? What prowess do you have? It's efficiency. How many miles per kilowatt hour? And Lucid is ahead of Tesla, and we have a roadmap. I really value this metric. And remember, the goalposts are always moving, and Lucid will move as well.
That's just part of Rawlinson's claim that Lucid is more efficient in miles per kilowatt hour than Tesla and anybody else. He gives credit to Tesla that Tesla is the leader in the market. He says that that's why Tesla has such a high market value. Of course, there's a lot more reasons. This is what I didn't like about that, is on the one hand, he's complimenting Tesla by saying, well, they're more efficient, and that's why they have a higher market cap. No, there's a lot of reasons why Tesla has a high market cap, and miles per kilowatt hour is a fairly small one. I mean, yes, they have more range than other EVs, but there's so much more going on with Tesla, and it's really about the growth that is the big driver. It's the growth, it's the prospect of FSD, a lot of different reasons why Tesla is moving. The profitability, there's so many different factors in Tesla's favor. And to limit it to just say it's this, no. It's a factor, it is an advantage Tesla has, but there's a lot more there. Rawlinson knows that. And we're still, the jury is still out whether Lucid Air really does have more efficiency in miles per kilowatt hour. It's a bold claim. We're still waiting for you to back it up by actually delivering a vehicle that a journalist can drive, that can be actually tested by the EPA. Let's see it deliver, and then we'll talk.
But many will know that I'm actually quite passionate about eVTOL aircraft, and that's a great application for our tech. Super energy dense, super power dense metrically. That is what these eVTOL aircraft need. And beyond that, there's a marine, agricultural, heavy industrial machinery application for our technologies, above and beyond us being a supplier to the traditional automakers.
This is another one of those moments like the energy storage moment. You're talking about that something that's not even in your financials, saying that you're going to get involved in electric vertical and takeoff and landing jets, marine applications, agriculture, industrial machinery. Just deliver a car. Then none of this is in your financials. None of this is part of the actual business model for Lucid Motors going forward for the next 10 years. Why are you making these claims that if you actually had that kind of technology that somebody else wanted, why isn't it already licensed? Why isn't somebody already using it? You're just talking. Deliver a car.
And then on to our Wonderbox. Our Wonderbox technology is unique as it's a two-way charging system. And we'll have that functionality enabled for customers via OTA in the future.
That was actually a little big. It's a short clip, but there's actually something in there that I didn't know before. They've talked before about how the Wonderbox, the magic Wonderbox, blah, 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 is bi-directional. And I thought that was something that was going to be baked in from the beginning, but now he says that will be upgradable by a software update in the future. So in other words, if they actually deliver a car, if they actually deliver a car, it's not going to be bi-directional when they first deliver them. They will unlock bidirectionality somewhere in the future with a software update. They're already backing off of the bidirectional claim that it's going to be able to back up your house, it's going to be able to charge other vehicles. All of that is now delayed until they have a software update.
Even the headlights of Lucid Air are groundbreaking technology, unbelievably. We built a team of lighting optical mathematicians to compute a completely new paradigm for lighting, which is a multi-lens array. Our car headlamps are inspired by insect eyes. So rather than by human eyes, like a traditional car with two lenses, this is inspired by the eyes of a fly. We have thousands of micro lenses here, incredibly efficient, most homogeneous, brightest array on the market. When it hits the market, there'll be nothing as good as this. And it's even got digital swiveling. So it can actually steer the light linked to the steering wheel's position, but it does this without any moving parts. It's a digital steering system. This is state of the art. There's nothing else quite like it. And it's 100% in-house, heavily patented. And it's also super efficient. So it actually helps with the range of the car as well.
I have to admit that sounds kind of cool. I think I understand what he's saying. It sounds like it's a significant innovation in headlights for cars. Is it a big deal? Probably not as much as he's saying. The other thing to notice, and he said this a few times in the investor call, he kept referring to patents, which we would call patents here in America. How long have you been here? Patents. They have, heavily patented. Heavily patented? Is there a light patenting? I don't know. But one of the things it sounds like they're stressing in a lot of their talk is the patents, which would make the company more desirable for an acquisition. If your company has a lot of patents, sometimes that's something that another company will want to acquire if they think you have valuable patents that could be useful in a variety of different ways. Not necessarily you're going to use it for a product, but maybe you're going to defend yourself against somebody else's claim that you're violating their patent. Maybe that's part of the scam. That's not really a scam. There's arguably some value there in the crazy patent world we have. It seems like questionable that it would be worth devoting this much time to talking about headlights when you're talking about a $180,000 car. But okay, it did sound cool. I'll give you that.
The number of patents that we have and the value of those patents, they're not dumb patents. These are profound patents.
Patents, patents, patents.
But what might surprise many of you is the bigger vision of truly mass industrializing electrification. My vision is to design for true mass production, because that's what the world needs right now.
This irritated me because the talk doesn't match the walk. You're talking about mass production, but your projections going out to 2030 are you're going to achieve 500,000 vehicles a year. I guess that's mass production, but it's not a very big deal to achieve 500,000 vehicles. You're still a bit player in the overall vehicle market 10 years from now. You're pulling in all this investment. You're going to scale up mass production, mass industrialization, whatever you want to call it. Set more aggressive plans for 2030 than 500,000 vehicles a year.
Our AMP factory in Casa Grande is the first purpose-built EV plant in North America.
Who cares? Are you going to be the first to deliver a vehicle? I'm pretty sure that Giga Texas is going to deliver more vehicles this year than Lucid Motors is going to deliver. And arguably Nikola Motors had a dedicated EV factory before you. Who cares who's first? Deliver a car.
And of course, we buy the gears in, we buy magnets in, we actually buy the cells in. But we actually effectively assemble and manufacture the key elements here, the battery modules, complete battery packs. We put all the modules into the pack and assemble them all together. We make our electric motors. We make our inverters. We make the Wonderbox technology, all in-house. And this was a core philosophy that I personally insisted upon when we determined we'd be manufacturing. And I said, right, we're going to make sure we make effectively two things in-house. One is going to be the painted body shell of the car, which we do at AMP1. And two, all the in-house electric vehicle core technology. Because there's a lot of secret sauce and a lot of know-how to this, which we really want to keep away from the world and away from prying eyes.
It was a long day. It was painful to listen to. And if you caught at the end, they're keeping something from prying eyes. What are you hiding? You're hiding you can't make a car. You're not hiding anything else. Deliver a car, then you won't have to hide anymore. You're not hiding. You got nothing to hide. You're hiding that you got nothing.
And we're close to a lot of the supply base, which is south of the border in Mexico, in the Sonora region.
Well, that was something I didn't know. Apparently, the supply chain for Lucid Motors is in Mexico. So you're buying a $180,000 luxury car that's made with Mexican parts. That's a great sales pitch for the American consumer. Nice job! So as you can tell, I'm not impressed with Lucid Motors yet again. I think we've learned a little bit more material information, particularly that it looks like they're not going to deliver 577 vehicles this year. Sounds like they're not going to deliver 20,000 vehicles in 2022. The fundraising is going to dry up by the end of 2022, so there's going to have to be another funding round. There were a lot more details in here. If I were a CCIV investor or a Lucid shareholder who wasn't inside, I would be worried about these things. They're delaying, they're dragging out, they're not hitting numbers that they said they were going to hit before. It keeps getting delayed, and fundamentally, when are they going to deliver a car? We don't know. No hint of when they're going to deliver a car. So not very impressive. And man, if I worked for Lucid Motors and you said CEO's calling a meeting, I'd get sick and go home before I'd have to sit in a meeting and listen to this guy talk and talk and talk. Oh my God, it's awful. He just keeps talking. Oh, it's horrible. Can you imagine working there and having to listen to this like once a week? Oh, it's painful. I'm sorry. Not impressive. Rawlinson, learn to get focused on a point and stick to it and just deliver the message in a short time. Don't drag things out this long ever again. I'm going to have to listen to it every time you do it. So maybe if you want to punish me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please check out my other videos. Check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. Support this channel on Patreon. Thank you so much to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden for supporting this channel and all my Patreon supporters. Thank you all for watching.